Welcome to another episode of the Enlisted podcast. My name is Antonio Talamo.
And my name is Casey Coleman.
And we once again have an exciting topic. And this is timely. If you're listening to this, this is released around the Thanksgiving holiday. And it's strategic, right?
Holiday season.
Yeah, you want to share what the topic is?
Yes. So this week we will be discussing the top 5 fictional families you always wanted to be a part of.
And the reason why that's so timely, if it's not obvious enough, is Thanksgiving is triggering for some people because they have to be around the table with their racist uncle or the loudmouth aunt.
Or if you're like me, you have to do tech support where, you have to like install a printer while you're baking a pie. So,
they waited a whole year for that.
Yeah, it's a stressful time. And so we thought it would be fun to unwind with a fun topic of, just talking about TV families, holiday culture, some different things that happen, particularly in the fall, winter time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and we're big TV nerds. We watch a ton of TV shows and a lot of movies. And this is fictional, of course, but I imagine that we're going to see, I think what we fall in love with on the screen, not the big screen, but just regular screen, our TV family. So I'm wondering, as we unfold our list, how much TV is going to play a role in our list.
Absolutely. Well, and I think TV, right, it's an escape for everybody. But when you think about TV families, most of them are dysfunctional. So I do want to preface this with it was hard putting this list together because, first of all, there's so many dysfunctional TV families out there, or just families in general, right? I think about shows like Shameless where they're really poor, or like Malcolm in the Middle, Roseanne, some of those families that I've watched or I've come to love that were really dysfunctional. So to think of actual functional families that I'd want to join on Thanksgiving, I don't know. I had a hard time with it, but it was a lot of fun. How about for you, Antonio?
No, definitely. And I'm starting to think now if there were any families that I remember were most like my family. And it should be no surprise that family would be Everybody Loves Raymond, because they're an Italian family. You got this overbearing mom figure who tries to argue with the daughter-in-law often, and just like
Yes.
the food and the sibling rivalry. Yeah. So that was probably one of the closest things to my family. And and they're far more mild than mine. Did you have any representation for you, like a family that you always remember, like, wow, that's just like mine?
That's a great question. I think one of the families I always think of, and it might sound bad coming out like this, but Malcolm in the Middle was a family that I remember watching as a kid growing up and kind of resonating with them a little bit. Like they did not have a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of money growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember, sort of at times relating to more so Malcolm, who was sort of the smarter child out of all of these siblings that were kind of, crass and just not the brightest bulbs, or just sort of angsty. I'm not saying I grew up in an angsty household, but for me, it was just resonating with a family that, at times you were like embarrassed by them and just wanting to fit in, which was something I so desperately wanted. And so I would say for me, that's the show that sticks out off the top of my head of families that sort of was like, oh, I can attest to that, or, oh, I relate to that.
Well, that was a wacky family, and Frankie Muniz, obviously, and Bryan Cranston, who's an absolute genius. There was just a lot of like dysfunction, but function at the same time,
Yeah, they made it work. But you mentioned Bryan Cranston, who you talk about dysfunctional families. You got one dysfunctional family, Malcolm in the Middle, and then he went on to go on to Breaking Bad, another sort of dysfunctional family when you think about it.
100%. And for anybody that knows me, I'm a huge Breaking Bad fan. That I watched that at least twice and started it a third time. It's brilliant. Dysfunctional to the max. Everyone had their issues on Breaking Bad for sure.
Yes, I know this is controversial, but I tried to get through that show like 2 or 3 different times. I got through like maybe 2 seasons. And I know like all the critics say it's amazing. So maybe someday it'll be on my magical list of shows I'll watch.
But isn't that incredible though, Casey? How many shows there are out there, right? And I like to use I've used this term before to describe how I feel having all of these shows that I haven't watched yet, and that's show overwhelmed, right? Just
Yes.
overwhelmed by so many shows that people say are good, and then you start them, and then you're like, I didn't really get it. And it's just interesting how everyone is different. Like I know right now you're watching Grey's Anatomy, which I cannot believe is still on. But
Uh,
nonetheless, like you, and I know everyone that loves it.
yes. And just to put in perspective for some listeners out there, Grey's Anatomy premiered when I was in seventh grade. And I still watch it to this day. And it's been on for 17 seasons. There was, maybe 2 or 3 seasons that I just missed and sort of caught back up, went through it. But yeah, I can attest to that show overwhelmed feeling. My sister is currently watching it for the first time ever. She has been ticking away at it. And every so often I'm like, well, if you ever catch up, I'd love to talk about it. But I can totally attest to that show overwhelmed feeling. I know I at times get frustrated, I'll binge a show really fast on Netflix, and then it's like a year and a half until it comes out again. And you're sitting there and you're like, what did I like about this? Or who's that? What happened? Like,
First world problems, let me tell you.
oh, absolutely. Like I was really, when it first came out, I was into that Sabrina show on Netflix. I watched the
Yes.
first season with my friend. We watched it in like 12 hours, 24 hours, basically half a day. And then I don't even know if I ever watched the second season because I watched it so fast. I was like, I don't know that I retained it.
Well, and as much as I like Netflix, right? I almost feel like some of the magic is removed from Netflix with this whole binge culture, because I do remember loving and anticipating weekly shows and standing by them. And now it's like you're right. It's like blindly eating a bunch of snacks and not remembering what you ate afterwards because you just wanted to eat it so fast. And I don't
Exactly.
know how I feel about it, because I do love when shows come out, I get to digest them all at once, like Stranger Things and a bunch of shows
Hmm.
on there that I love. But at the same time, it's done in a weekend. And then you're like, now
Yeah.
what?
Or, there's nothing worse than when everyone's talking about a show and you missed it.
Yes, exactly.
I doubt anybody 6 weeks after it came out was watching Tiger King, because no one was talking about it anymore. So when people aren't talking about a show, I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm just not going to get into this. Like, I know a couple of years ago, everyone was into Making a Murderer. I think I watched like
Oh
one
my God, I
episode.
love that show.
Yep. I'm not super into the crime genre. I don't know, true crime, that kind of stuff. I've never seen an episode of Law and Order, which I know for some people. I'm sorry if you spit out your coffee or you can't believe that. I've just never seen one. I've never come across an episode. I just haven't sat down to watch it. That to me is a show where I would feel show overwhelmed. I wouldn't even know where to start, how to start. So I just don't.
I agree with you. So I don't know if this makes it weird, but I like real crime shows.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's a whole, yeah.
I like real murderers, not those fake murderers.
Yeah. I know what you mean. That's, there's an element of,
It's almost like I just can't believe that that is a real person out there. But nonetheless, I do think that there's a lot of fun with that. And let's bring it full circle, right? So we're talking about our favorite fictional families that I guess ideally we'd like to have spend Thanksgiving with. But of course, we know there's a ton of dysfunctional TV families as well. But I want to talk about Thanksgiving a little bit, because we have folks who's that's like one of their favorite holidays. And
yes.
is that true for you?
Nope. I
Interesting.
don't. Yeah, I know that again, possible controversial opinion. I like don't really care for Thanksgiving. I don't really like turkey. I can make mashed potatoes whenever I want. I don't know. I just don't have a super, super love for like Thanksgiving Day. So it's not really a favorite holiday for me. What I will say I do enjoy doing around the holiday times is putting up the Christmas tree.
Okay, so wait, but wait, no, no. That's see, well, let's not skip over that. Are you the person that's putting up their tree before Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving?
As I look at it standing upright right now,
Oh
I'm a
no.
totally before Thanksgiving because I don't think it's enough time. Thanksgiving is very late this year, and why do all that
What are you
work to have it up?
talking about? It's late this year.
It's like the last. First of all, it's
It's
the last.
always the last Thursday of
Yes, but
November.
sometimes it could be like the 22nd, and I believe this year it's like the 27th or the 28th. Like it's
Casey,
late this year.
It is never the 22nd. That would mean that there's still another Thursday left. It's always between like the
Oh,
26th and the like
I don't think
29th.
so. What about leap
Yes.
year? No,
No,
there's
no,
only,
no.
I think
Not
in a
leap year.
leap year that qualifies. I think. I'm
No,
not sure.
but it's
I'm
okay.
going to look it up.
Okay, you can look it up while I tell you how disgusting it is that I people put up their like okay, the week of Thanksgiving I get it, but this year I just feel like I'm seeing it's like November 1st and people just suddenly put their trees up and I'm going what it's not even cold out. It's not even uh Thanksgiving isn't here. I mean, I don't understand why five weeks of a Christmas tree is not enough.
It's just not enough. I need the joy, Antonio. I need the joy of the lights, the music. There's so many movies to watch.
Okay,
There's
but
so much to
the
do.
argument that you made about not liking turkey, fair. Think turkey's overrated. And make you being able to make mashed potatoes whenever you want. In theory, you could put up a Christmas tree whenever you want.
That is very true. I do just want all of our listeners to know. And the reason I know this is because my fiance's sister is born on November 22nd. Her birthday has fallen on Thanksgiving in the past.
That's not
In a
possible.
quarter to the Old Farmer's Almanac, um, Thanksgiving has been held on the fourth Thursday in November, which means the actual date of the holiday shifts each year. The earliest date that Thanksgiving can occur is November 22nd, and the latest is November 28th.
I don't
Drop
understand how.
the I'm dropping the drumstick on you, man.
All right, fair enough. But whatever, Farmer's Almanac, whatever the case may be, doesn't matter. But still, it's you know what also are weird gifts that people give that don't make sense to me
What?
are ornaments because
Yes. Wow. Yeah.
and I
Pointless,
say this
really.
and I say this as someone who has gifted you an ornament. Okay,
Yes.
I get it. I believe that if you're gonna gift someone an ornament, you should give that ornament to them when they put up their Christmas tree. Because if you give someone an ornament on Christmas Day, they can't enjoy it till the following year. What good is that? That's a stupid gift.
Yeah.
But I love ornaments. I just don't like them being gifted on Christmas.
That's kind of like getting a bathing suit in December for your birthday.
Wow, you couldn't have described it better.
Yeah. Well, as someone with a December birthday, I will go on the record and say I know a lot about getting pointless gifts that you're like, don't really need this right now.
That's so true. And I gifted you an ornament though, didn't I?
You did, and it's one of my favorite ornaments. I put it up every year. It is a photo of, and I'll have to post it to my story, but it's a photo of Antonio modeling and trying to mimic the panther. Was the panther a puma?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with
Some school's mascot,
yeah,
Pittsburgh. It was
Pittsburgh, yeah.
great, and it cracks me up every time I look at it. But we
But
hang
I
it
give
up
you
high
that
on the
for your
tree.
birthday. It was given to you for your birthday so you can put it up on your tree.
There you go, and that's why
So
you and I will be good friends because we understand the importance of
we
good
get
gift
it.
giving.
Yeah, I usually put up my tree after like the weekend of Thanksgiving because once it's over, I can kind of feel like we're in the holiday season. I do like Christmas. I don't mind Thanksgiving. I do think that there's the cold for me the tradition is like the football that's on TV and I don't know about you but we never made turkey. We made it once because as Italians we thought we had to buy one and we stared at it. We didn't know what to do, where to carve it from. So
That's funny.
we just never ate it to be honest. We eat like we've eaten like lasagna or my wife will make like rice balls, like stuff that typically are laborious.
Hmm.
We make that on Thanksgiving.
Antonio, let me ask you: Are you a regifter?
Now, what do you mean by that?
Like, if you get a gift and you don't want it, will you give it away to somebody else?
I will rarely do that to be honest. I don't know. I guess I may do that if it's like a gift that I can probably do like a white elephant gift with,
Okay,
but I
okay,
typically do not.
that's fair.
Do you? Or I mean, I
Yes, I am a regifter, but only in the realm sort of as you just mentioned, which I think is the only sort of appropriate way to regift. Is in that like white elephant esque. If you're going to a party, which first of all, you want to talk about frivolous culture, like going out and just buying a gift to give to someone as a joke, like why don't we just take that money and invest it in our I don't know our broken school systems or the stopping the prison pipeline. Story
So
for a different
are
day.
you starting a petition to stop white elephant gifts across the nation?
No, I'm not going to be a Grinch about it, but
All right.
I think sometimes it gets excessive. Like I want to say last year I may have been in like 7 of them. And so what I did was I sort of just like made a pact where I was like, I'm going to buy like one thing and just ride it out.
But dude, that's hilarious. If you're part of seven, you essentially only maybe need two gifts because if most of the time, let's be honest, you don't get a good gift except when you came to my house and you got dinosaur taco holders,
Yes, yes.
which comes in handy because you eat tacos like an animal.
Yeah. So there was a period in my life where I would, because tacos are very laborious to eat, right? You got to assemble them, they could fall over, like you got to stuff them. And if you're like me, you inhale them, you eat them within like 3 seconds. So then you got to go make another one. So rather than like walk and sit down at the table or just do it at the table, I guess this was more of like a college grad school thing when I was living alone, I would say I would do what I call kitchen sink taco, where you have everything like right next to the sink, assemble it right there, and I would just eat them standing up.
Well, first of all, it's not true that it's a grad school thing when you told me that you did this up until a few years ago. Also, you make it seem like a taco is so difficult to put together. Like you put a plate under you, you animal.
I no, I understand that, but it's then they like fall over. So if I just hold it in my hand the whole time, it's not going to tip over. The toppings aren't going to spill out.
You know,
So
well, I'm glad. Well, now you have the taco holders, but everyone needed to know what that taco story was because I just think it's really shows who you are if folks don't know you. That's who Kitchen Sink Tacos who Casey is.
just I'm very passionate, all right, and I just want to eat them as fast as I can. So
Yeah, no, but back to your gifts, right? With the white elephant, essentially, you just need a few gifts and you swap them around. So if you're part of seven, you really only need one.
yes,
But no, that's awesome. So for me, and Black Friday is a big thing for me too. So for Thanksgiving, I think that's part of it. It's like I can get my Christmas shopping done that weekend or spoil myself or whatever. And I have gone to the stores. This was before they were even open on Thanksgiving, just to like go and see. Obviously, this year that is not happening. Also, online shopping.
yeah, I remember being in high school, like begging my dad I wanted a new MacBook. And I remember like seeing Best Buy had this really, really, really good deal. I was like, Dad, like I'm gonna eat dinner and then I'm gonna like get in line at Best Buy so I can get this laptop. And I was like, hold up. He like goes online, he's like, is this the one you want? I'm like, yeah. He's like, give me the money. I'm like, okay. And he just bought it for me
So much easier.
online. And again, that was like 2008, 2009. So it wasn't like it is now where Amazon can bring you toilet paper with one click. But yeah, I don't understand sometimes why people like rush out and buy stuff. I'm not a fan of the chaos. That doesn't mean I don't go people watch. I've done that in the past. I've used Black Friday as an excuse to run away from my own family. I'm sad to admit, but there was like 1 or 2 years where I went to Old Navy on Thanksgiving Day because
Yes.
I didn't want to be near my family. I wanted to comb through dollar pairs of socks.
I love that that's the place that you went to right away. Nothing wrong with it. I'm just
Yeah, it was open, and I was like, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a huge Thanksgiving person. I used to like it more as a kid, but now as I'm a little bit older, I don't know. It's not my favorite.
no, I mean I definitely hear you. I used to actually work at Best Buy in high school, and I was seasonal there, and I worked right before Thanksgiving. And let me tell you, dude, there were people. I think it was I don't remember if it was the day before. I'm pretty sure it was the day before Thanksgiving because at Thanksgiving they would be closed. That people were literally camping outside the day before Thanksgiving
Yeah,
in anticipation for Friday.
like for what?
I don't know. It was unbelievable.
It's not like we have a TV shortage. You can't find one.
No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I guess it was back then like HD TVs were kind of new and I guess you could get them cheaper enough, but at what cost? I mean, people got stomped
Yeah,
out and killed
stomped
over
out. Well,
TVs.
and the stores would have quantity of like maybe five, like just not
It
worth the
was so
hoopla.
dumb. No, that's funny. Do you have any favorite foods from Thanksgiving?
Well, I am a mashed potato
You
like
are.
thank you. You got to make a volcano out of your mashed potatoes. So you got to like
Oh,
fill it up with gravy and then you just yeah, it's a volcano. So then The gravy goes all over all your food. But I would say my favorite Thanksgiving dish would be mashed potatoes with gravy. How about for you, Antonio?
Well, like I said, I mean, if we're going traditional, I'd probably have to go like solid mashed potatoes. You know what I don't
Which is
get?
an oxymoron.
It is. But you know what I don't get for Thanksgiving? I cranberry sauce. I don't get it. I don't see where it fits. Why am I eating melted fruit?
Yeah, I think it's more of just a color palette thing. It's kind of a seasonal thing. Also, I do think it's important that our listeners know out there that Antonio doesn't really eat fruits or vegetables.
No, no, no. That's not true. I eat tons of fruits. Coming around to vegetables.
Okay, well, better late than never, right?
I'm trying.
So, should we delve into our lists?
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, this is the nature of our podcast. Most of this we did not have planned to talk about, but it's just the nature of us talking, and here we are. And we really didn't get to talk about some of the dysfunctional TV families, and I'm just, I want to get into it because I'm curious to see what you'll think of mine. And I noticed that as I go through, some of them are debatably dysfunctional.
Which is okay. You know, I
Yeah.
think it's totally okay. I would be surprised if a family like, I don't know, Roseanne or Shameless was at the top of your list. So I think some dysfunction's okay. I mean, it makes sense, right? We wouldn't really ever watch a show where there wasn't dysfunction or drama, because then there'd be no reason to watch that show.
No, I agree. There were some that I mean I'll talk about throughout that I'm just like I really wanted to put it on here, but I I didn't really have a good reason for it. So,
That's all
but
right.
but all right, let's get right into it. I want you to start this time.
Sure. So, delving into our top five fictional families we've always wanted to be a part of. Antonio, I don't think you've ever watched this show. I've begged you to watch it. And my number five would be the Mars family from Veronica Mars.
Oh. Oh, I was gonna say this list is gonna be hilarious because I have a feeling there's gonna be a lot of shows that I haven't been a part that I haven't watched.
That's
But
okay.
tell me about Veronica Mars.
Yes. So Veronica Mars, they live in Neptune, California, and so it stars Kristen Bell. It's a phenomenal show. Watch it on Hulu. Tweet me, text me, whatever. I would talk about the show forever. I feel bad that I ever missed the prime of this show. But Veronica Mars, essentially, just in terms of the family, right? It was just her. She was a high schooler, and her dad, who was like he works as a private eye, and this man loves his daughter more than anything humanly possible. Like the things he does, if anyone's ever watched the show, every season finale it was like Veronica's probably going to die or something bad was going to happen to her, and like this man would come rescue her, or vice versa. Like Kristen Bell was kind of smarmy, smart, quirky, and it was definitely a dangerous family to be a part of. Like, I don't know that I would have had a regular, normal life. I mean, the mother abandoned them at one point. That was the whole plot line. But they're just so supportive of each other. And I mean, Keith Mars goes above and beyond to save his daughter. At one point, he like pulls her out of a burning refrigerator kind of crate thing. It's not
Jesus.
really, yeah, yeah,
Burning
yeah. And I'm not,
refrigerator. That's an oxymoron.
yeah, I mean, I'm not spoiling too much, and I think as I go through this list, I'll try not to, give too many spoilers. But just the way that they love and support each other is a family that I would love to be a part of.
Well, and you mentioned it's on Hulu, and I think that's part of the reason I haven't watched it because I don't have access to that. I have access to it, I just don't have it. So, but that's actually sounds really fascinating, and I think the part that resonates with me is you saying how much the father loves Veronica Mars, and I think there's no better reason to be part of a family than that.
All right, Antonio, what's your number five?
So my number five is definitely a dangerous family, but I also really appreciate their resilience, and
Okay.
that is the Stark family from Game of Thrones.
Wow.
I know, right?
I didn't even think of that. Wow. Okay. So
So
tell our
yeah, no, no, let me definitely. I mean, first of all, the Stark family, in my opinion, is the strongest family, the most loyal family, and they love each other. And even there's a character in there that was at first known to not be related fully to the family, and they still embraced them with everything. Turns out, he's one of the main protagonists of the show, and goes on to be brilliant. But I mean, the women, the men are also powerful and loyal,
Oh,
and I just love the way they fight against evil.
yes. Wow. I kudos to you. I didn't even think of that. Probably though, I would not want to live in that time period, so definitely wouldn't be on my list, but they're good family.
Well, that's true. I mean, I don't know that I thought of being raised in that time, but I mean, even if I did, I know that I would be trained well to fight, right?
It's
Because they
true.
they trained really well, and people would have my back. I don't know. I think that's a big part of it. And
Yes,
they divided and conquered.
they really did. Wow, kudos to you. That was a good
So
one.
that's my number five. Obviously, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the rest of mine, but love
What?
Game of Thrones. Also, fun fact about Game of Thrones and my relationship to it. When I started my freshman year in college, I was still friends with a lot of my high school teachers because I did video production with them and we had a really great relationship. And I remember I was still toying about the idea of going into TV and movie producing and all of that. And I remember going back to my teacher and he was like, "Hey, what are you doing this summer?" Now, mind you, I was like 18 years old, and I was like, "I don't know." He was like, "Do you want to go to Ireland?" And I'm like, "For what?" He's like, "Well, my brother-in-law's like books just got picked up for an HBO show." I'm like, "Oh, what's the
Which,
show about?"
how you ever pass this up, because HBO only
Oh,
makes quality content. They don't ever release anything bad.
keep in mind though, keep in mind, right? This is 2008. So TV is not, I mean, I don't even think Netflix was out like that. It was like I didn't really watch HBO. I couldn't afford HBO. Like I
Yes.
didn't really understand what it meant. But
Mm-hmm.
but I asked him, I was like, what's the show about? I was like, well, it's kind of like a medieval show. There's knights and fighters, and I was like, that sounds dumb. That's not gonna go anywhere.
Wow.
And and to be fair to me, he told me that like I wouldn't be paid. I would just have to make my way over there on my own. And turns out that show, his brother-in-law is George R. R. Martin, and the show is Game of Thrones. So that's how I
Wow.
almost worked on the set of Game of Thrones.
Wow. You would have definitely taken that Starbucks cup out of the shot.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely the Starbucks coffee cup. Yep.
Wow.
Or I might have
Good
been the one that
one.
put it there. Who knows?
Well, Antonio, my number four would be the Rose family from a very popular show right now known as Schitt's Creek.
Oh yes. That's right on my
So,
list. I actually watched a few episodes and I can just tell you now, I love that family.
oh, they're so funny. I just love, you know this about me, but I always love shows with heart and character. And, you
Mm-hmm.
know, to me, the Rose family just, I mean, the growth they have over their seasons there is phenomenal. It's a great binge show. It's funny. It's one of those shows where I laugh out loud watching and we have to go back and replay it because we couldn't hear what they were saying. But I just love Eugene Levy plays a dad that just really, really cares about his kids. Kind of, they're in a raw deal. There's a super rich family that has to move to a very poor and rural area, and they make the most of it. And I mean, Catherine O'Hara as Moira, just kooky and fun. And I even think as in terms of the siblings, looking at Alexis and David, like I just think I would fit in well. I think I would get along with them.
100%.
And like I said, they love each other, and at the end of the day, that's all that really matters, right?
No, that's true. And that show just also, I mean, I watched the first few episodes and I'm sure that the characters kind of mature in different ways, but the parents are like clueless in a way because obviously they came for money and now they don't have any and they're just trying to like live this luxurious life but can't. And just watching them navigate situations is just so
Yes. And they
terrible.
make, over the course of the show, they really make the most of it, and they turn it around, and just I feel like almost like the Grinch, right? Like their hearts all grow and they're just these wonderful, wonderful people that I would love nothing more. Again, a little bit dysfunctional, but I'd love nothing more than to be a part of them.
Oh yeah, and I can definitely see you. That's a good one. And I'm not surprised that that's on there. Not surprised. All
What do you
right.
have at number
So
four?
number four, and I'm curious to know if you have this family on yours, but I always wanted to be. Now, I didn't pick one specific family, although I may want to talk this out with you, but that's the families from Modern Family.
Antonio, that's my number three.
Oh my God. Okay, so we're not too far off then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So tell me
Although
about it. So did you pick a family?
I did.
Okay.
So I wanted to be a Dunphy.
Okay. So that's who I think that's who I would go with. But I want to know why you think that.
I, I mean, Phil Dunphy is probably one of the best TV dads of our time.
I agree.
He's just so caring and so compassionate. He's a little bit of a goofball and an idiot, but who doesn't love that? One of my favorite episodes of Modern Family, and I crack up even just thinking about it, is it's Leap Day, and Phil, the whole family, him, Claire, the daughters, and they're all supposed to go to the trampoline park, and it's Leap Day, and all of the daughters and Claire have their period, and Phil just want like so Phil and Luke are trying to find a way to like sneak out of the house and go, and it's just oh my god, like I crack up thinking about what happened, what transpires in that episode. And so for
It's
me,
amazing.
I mean, yeah, part of the reason they were number three on my list is how fun would the holidays be? Like that whole family, the whole cast of characters, all of them really. Cam, Mitch, just everybody, Jay, Gloria, just a good group of people. But I particularly would want to be a Dunphy.
Well, and I think I love the Pritchett's too, but I do think if I had to choose, the Dumfies to me are the most hysterical, and I see myself as Phil Dunphy a little bit, and
Yeah.
I'm going to be a dad in a few months, which is crazy. Actually, a few weeks. I don't even want to say a few months, and I
Ooh.
start to think like, who am I going to be like a dad? And I just think of Phil Dunphy because he's silly, he tries hard, he wants to have fun. So I do
Yes.
see like parts of me kind of being that. And then I agree. I mean, I think the Hollies would be like, I wish I could hang out with Gloria and just hear her and Jay bantering at
Yes.
Thanksgiving.
And I'm not surprised that it was on your list. I think it's probably one of the best comedies of a recent age, and probably in the last 20 years for sure. Won a ton of awards in the beginning, and just what a great show, great family, great values, and just who wouldn't want to be a part of them?
And very diverse.
Yes, we love that.
All right. So I know now I took your number three, but now I want to know what your number four. No, wait, that was your number three, right?
That was my number three. You need
Okay,
to tell us what your number three was.
that's right. Okay, so we're moving along quickly. Now, I want to preface this with saying that the reason I chose this one was because growing up, it showed me what functional looked like.
Okay.
Although today it might be a little bit controversial.
Oh, okay. I think I know, but tell us.
Yeah, I would have loved, and my number three is being part of the Huxtables family, which is part of the Cosby Show. And say what you want, obviously he is a horrible man, but that family was just something I always sought to be. We have two parents who are extremely successful. Bill obviously was sarcastic and was there to teach lessons, and the wife was always supportive but also challenged the norms.
Yes.
And honestly, for me as a kid, it was a comforting show. The conversations that happened, and I wish that I didn't have to feel bad about my number three, but that's
And that's tough.
I have to
You
separate the
know.
family from the
Well,
characters, I guess.
well, and I mean, if you think about it, in the time that it was on, that a lot of the problems with Bill Cosby weren't obviously known about, and so I can understand that. Definitely a good family in the sense of at least what the show was about. There was a couple siblings, so you would never feel alone. Definitely feel loved and supported, and that's important in a family, right? You want to feel like you're not alone.
Yeah, I mean, and the show was hysterical too. I mean, I not that I would watch it today because it would be very uncomfortable for me, but like it was hysterical. The way that they approached the situations, I always thought was great. And again, an overall successful American family. And I guess I so desperately wanted to feel that, you know?
Which,
Yeah.
I think is a cornerstone of a lot of these shows is that, you want to feel like you're a part of them, which kind of leads me into my number two, if I can.
Yeah.
My number two family that I would love to be a part of, Antonio, would be the Wild Thornberries. I would want to
Wow. What
be
a
a Thornberry.
throwback. Wait a minute.
Yes.
Hold up, hold up. All right. So in a previous episode, you can check it out. It's the top five Nickelodeon shows. You mentioned the Wild Thornberries, but you,
Yes.
you didn't have it in your top five though.
I
But
didn't. But
you
when I
mentioned that show.
yes, when I really, really sat down and thought about like families that I would want to be a part of, the Thornberries, right? That's the name of the family, Eliza Thornberry and all of them. I just, to me, first of all, the mom and dad defied gender roles. Like the dad was kind of definitely a little bit more feminine. The mom was a little bit more masculine, which I think it's important for shows to break tropes like that. Society tells us we need to be.
Yeah.
They got to travel a ton. Who would not want that?
That's a good point though. The travel piece is awesome.
Oh my God, to see the world like that, I would love nothing more. It was also very clear to me in that show, and this is why they are so high for me, is that they had such an open heart, right? Because you think about the show, this was a family that traveled. They adopted a boy they found in the wild. They also, like, basically adopted a monkey that they also found in the wild. Like, so to me, it's like I know that they would have loved me and accepted me for who I was. And that's why I have the Thornberry family at number two.
That's actually hysterical. And I don't know what they do though. Like what do the parents do?
So they were traveling because they filmed their own like nature documentary. So the dad would host it and the mom would film it.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm reading here that apparently the mom mentions that she attended the University of California, Berkeley.
There you go. So I
That's
would come
that's
from
fascinating.
a well intelligent family that got to travel. And yeah, I'm sure it would get annoying to be on a road like that and live in a box on wheels that was survived a flood and fires and all these other things. But at the end of the day, they always made it out okay. And I just think to see the world like that, who wouldn't want that?
That's fair. I still, as I mentioned in the podcast, I still think that the little boy creeps me out. I know he got saved by raised by monkeys or whatever, but it's just strange to me.
I also do want to throw it out there that part of the reason why I also had them on my list like this is because, again, a mom and a dad, not a common thing in television shows. Sometimes sometimes there's no mom, there's no dad, somebody dies, like very traumatic. But there you go, a mom and a dad. Who wouldn't want that?
That's fair, and I
To feel loved and supported like that.
love it. Yeah, absolutely. All right, here goes my number two. I don't know if you're gonna have them on your number one, so I hope I'm not doing
I
too
am
much.
I am confident that my
Okay.
number one is not on your list.
Okay, and I want to take a stab at your number one after my number two.
Go for it.
Okay, so my number two, and it's probably no surprise to a lot of people, but I really wanted to be a part of the Tanners from Full House.
Wow.
And that's not your number one, obviously, but I don't see how it's not on your list because they were such an awesome family. They were so supportive. First of all, Bob Saget played that role so well because that is not what he's like in real life. You have
Correct.
you have like such a cool uncle. They're on TV. They work with TV, and you got the cutest little twins. Well, the not twins, but there's one of them that's played by twins. Mary Kate and Ashley got their start there, and it was like,
Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen, just so we're clear.
what did I say?
You said Mary and Kate
Yeah, Mary
Olsen.
Kate. Yeah, yeah,
No, it's Mary Kate and
yeah, yeah,
Ashley.
yeah. Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen. I get it. Yeah, I just combine words, folks. I'm not good with names. I'm gonna be honest with you. I can remember a lot of
Yeah,
things. Names not one of them,
that is
which
true.
doesn't really work well for this specific podcast because I need to know names. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on them?
Oh, they were in my honorable mention. And I think there were a couple factors, right? If I went just based on pure childhood nostalgia, yeah, Full House would be a no-brainer. But as a little bit older, really kind of trying to think about, families and representation. I don't know. For me, it's just a very crowded house. Like, and what I loved about the show was that there was always room for people in the house. But like, I don't know. I would want more than just to sleep under the stairs or to sleep in the basement.
Well, is it weird that I kind of like that. I kind of like the
Um,
idea that in a slightly overcrowded, make the best of the situation kind of idea. Like everyone has their area of the
no,
house and
yeah,
it comes
it's
together.
it's it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I don't know. Possible controversial opinion. I just always felt like Joey was a little weird to me. Like he was just like a family friends. Like,
That's
and if
true.
you without context, right? If I told you, oh, my friend is living on my couch and he's going to be a comedian,
And we call him
like
Uncle.
yeah, like it wouldn't really sit well. You'd be like, oh, like that's not gonna go well. Not to taint the show, but
No, you're right. No, you're right. It's definitely awkward. And now I feel like I need to shower
it's
soon after
okay. It's
that. But
okay.
I don't know. It's good fam. Like I just remember
Well,
as a kid watching it, and it made me feel good.
yes. And you know what I will say, Antonio, to have them up that high on your list, it makes sense. They were definitely a family full of love. There was always room for people. And ultimately, what's not to appreciate there? And, right, I don't know if you've ever watched the reboot,
I did. Yeah.
but there to also know that that family sort of extended on, I think almost gives it more reason for it to be that high up. So I can understand why.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the characters I think translated off the screen. For example, Lori Loughlin loves her kids so much that she
Yeah.
paid a university to get them there. I mean, if that's not, and went to jail. Like, so to me, if that's not love,
Yeah.
I don't know what love is.
True. That is very true. Wow. All right, Antonio.
All right, this is your number one, right?
Yes,
Okay,
I do think. Would you take a guess?
I want to. I know you, and I'm trying to figure out why you wouldn't have the ones that I have. So, first of all, I'm going to imagine that and I think this is just because we had some conversations earlier. This is not a TV show family, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm just using it from that aspect.
Yeah. So it is from a movie.
Okay. And if I know you and I know you, this is very holiday related, isn't it? It's
Oh, so I know what family you're going to say, and I will say I did think about them. They did not make my list.
Wait, okay, so I'm talking about Home Alone.
Yes, so
Is that not on your number one?
it's not my number one because they left their kid home alone. They left. They left him behind. They're absolutely
That's
not
very
my number
satisfying.
one.
That for
Um,
listen, some people fantasize about being left by their families.
that is very true. And that's definitely crossed my mind at times. It's funny you say that. I definitely considered that, but I said I couldn't justify it enough. But when I tell you my number one, I think it'll make sense to you. So while I did think about the McAllister family from Home Alone, they're not in my top five. Antonio, my number one fictional family that I always wanted to be a part of is the Hillard family from the movie Mrs. Doubtfire. Now, hear me out.
Phenomenal. And obviously we have fantastic Mrs. Doubtfire story from when we went to a conference. First of all, oh my God, I'm speechless. I'm speechless.
First of all, I will say Mrs. Doubtfire is one of my favorite movies of all time. I've seen it probably a gazillion times. We used to have the VHS. I'd play it over and over and over and over and over again. I can probably quote the entire movie from start to finish without even having the movie on. So if anyone ever wants a staged reading of it, I can do it. But Mrs. Doubtfire, first of all, Robin Williams, what a great
Rest in peace,
dad.
man.
He
Rest in
forever rest
peace.
in peace. I will never be over his death. Mental health matters. But that man in that movie loved his family so much. He was willing to not only like put on a whole persona, he was getting dressed every day, putting makeup on, heels, pantyhose,
He was
whole.
invested.
He was so invested in his family, all because he wanted to spend time with them. And to me, what how do you top that, right? Like just a phenomenal performance, deserving of all the praise. It's a go rewatch it, you'll love it again and again and again. But he loved his family. He was there for his family, and obviously there was some tension in the marriage. They are possibly going to get divorced. But what I like about the movie, Antonio, and this is why again I have them in my number one spot, is because it sort of ends on an optimistic note. They don't necessarily get back together, but that they've had some positive conversations. Sally Fields, who plays Miranda, the mom, she kind of starts to come along. Mrs. Doubtfire gets her own television show. Like, I mean, Robin Williams literally took on like multiple jobs in order to be able to pull this off. And for me, that is why I would absolutely choose to be in that family, because that man loved his kids more than anybody else on planet Earth.
Casey, this might be your best number one out of all the podcasts that we have done. That is so well done,
Thank
because you're
you.
right. The commitment that you see, and obviously, Robin Williams that movie could not be possible without Robin Williams. I mean, that
Yeah.
man, it was so talented, and you mentioned mental health matters. I mean, he's a perfect example of that. But what a phenomenal movie, great family, and I could see that for you. I could see why you'd want him to be your dad and
Yeah.
be part of that
And I
family.
mean, for our listeners out there, think about it, right? Like, just what a profound act of love. And I know there's definitely some people out there shaking their head, like, yep, that's a good one. So, while it wasn't, we kept it a generic list of, fictional families. I know we always think of TV, but when I really sat down and thought about it, I was like, I definitely would want to be a Hillard.
I love that. Now, do you want to try to guess my number one? I
Um,
don't know if you'll get it, but
the only thing I can think of would be, was this something you watched in quarantine?
no.
Wow. Okay. Well, I thought it would be The Sopranos, but it's clear that it's
We're
not.
gonna talk about The Sopranos, but it's not my number one.
I don't know what your number one is.
Okay, I think this show particularly plays a special place in my heart because I used to watch it in Italy. It was dubbed. That's how great the show was. It was a TV show that was also dubbed in Italian, and so I was able to watch the show as a kid in Italy in a completely different language. Which watching it back now is hysterical. I mean, the references are just stupid, and that is the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And
Wow.
Banks is a family that I will forever want to be a part of. First of all, I'd want Will Smith to be my older brother, right? Like just the coolest. But his story's great, right? He comes from, a dangerous, according to the show, like the dangerous part of Philly, and moves in with a family that is almost completely opposite of what he's used to, and a very wealthy place, and he's just adapting. And I think
Mm-hmm.
I related to his character because of how I grew up in North Jersey in a very urban, relatively poor neighborhood. And I can't imagine, like, I was so jealous of the house. I just wanted to be there. And obviously, his father, Phil Banks, just being an absolute father, I think, to a lot of people out there who maybe didn't have a father or didn't have a father that particularly spoke to someone like that. So my number one
Yes,
is Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the
that
Banks
totally
family.
makes sense. Wow, good choice. I'm curious, how do you say the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in Italian?
I don't remember. I'm gonna look it up as you do that. But if you look it up, if you go to Google or YouTube, I should say, it was like you can listen to the theme song in Italian.
Oh, wow.
And I actually think it's called The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in Italy. Just like,
Okay. I
like I
wasn't sure
think
if it was like La Fresca.
no. I think they do a good job because that wouldn't like fresh. If you think about it, is a word that like wouldn't translate to it's slang, so it wouldn't. But it's hysterical. If you listen to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air Italian version, it's phenomenal.
Wow.
But yeah, so I grew up with that. I thought he was hysterical. I loved Carl and the entire family. So that show is on my Mount Rushmore of shows.
Wow, good choice. So let me ask you, what were some of your honorable mention that didn't make the cut?
All right, so I was almost going to put The Sopranos. So surprisingly enough, or maybe not, I for the first time watched The Sopranos over quarantine, and it was truly one of the greatest shows I've ever seen. And I think part of my pushback as a kid was I didn't want to be associated with that type of Italian, right? This mafia, American Italian kind of stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what family I'd want to be a part of because I'm going to be honest with you, like Tony Soprano's family, the Soprano family itself, like they are another level of dysfunction
Yes.
that I don't think I want to be a part of.
Yes. And that's, yeah, that makes sense, and danger. Don't know if you necessarily want that in a family. So I can totally understand that.
He wasn't very supportive, he was abusive. So, I mean, in retrospect, like it just doesn't make sense.
Yes. Any others in your honorable mention you want to
Yeah,
share?
and this I'm gonna tell you this right now. This one here might have cracked my top five if I just put a little bit more thought into it. And that is the Pearsons from This Is Us, but specifically Randall Pearson's
Ah,
family.
yes.
I
Wow, I didn't
You didn't think of that, huh?
know. Yeah, I love that show and then I stopped because it just got to be a little bit too much.
It
But
did,
yeah, good.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's another good family I'd almost put up there with sort of the Dunphy Pritchett clan of people that just,
God,
big,
Randall
big.
and his wife, they love so hard.
Oh, I know.
And I
They're
love
definitely
his passion.
goals.
What did you have?
So in my honorable mention, I had the Matthews family from Boy Meets World,
Oh,
you
whoa,
know,
totally forgot
which
about them.
just what a wholesome family, right? Like mom, dad, they were kind of always there for support, let Corey kind of find his way. But I just loved, again, sort of a nuclear family, right? Where it's just the kids, the parents, I don't know, just pure, really pure intentions there for me.
I can see that.
Another one that possibly controversial, but one that did cross my mind was Dexter Morgan from the show Dexter, which, if you're not familiar,
Okay, you're gonna need to. I watched Dexter again, one of my favorite shows. But explain to me why that family.
so, well, in terms of caring for one another, I think ultimately Dexter and his sister, more so, like the siblings, they care about each other. They were trying to protect each other, sometimes too far.
I was going to say I'm uncomfortable with this one.
Well, and that's why, like I said, this was just one that sort of crossed my mind. But I think in terms of siblingship, if you will, they had they had each
I
other's
can see
back to
that.
the point where, I don't want to spoil anything, but I'll just say the show is about Dexter Morgan is a serial killer that kills bad people. And he just, yeah, and something transpires, and I don't know, I think his siblings, they support each other. So they were on my list. And then, I had Full House on there, the Tanner family, because the
Okay.
nostalgia element, for sure. Warm family, supportive. I think they didn't make my list because it was a little bit sad, but like, the mom died, and
Yep, that's true.
that's heavy, for a kid to have to deal with. But I mean, a loving family nonetheless. And then, like I said before, the McAllister family did cross my mind, but they left their kid home alone.
Yeah. I mean, that's similar to The Sopranos, though, right? Like this idea that like you like the show, you like the movie, but they not a good
Yeah,
example
yeah,
of a
yeah,
healthy
yeah. They're not
family.
necessarily people I want to rub elbows with at Thanksgiving, although they were very rich.
Well, that's
That
true.
house was,
Both of
yeah,
them actually.
yeah. I mean, you think about that house from Full House. That house would have to be over $1 million now.
Yeah. Also, why do people rub elbows? That's a weird thing to say.
It is, and it's
I've never rubbed the el. I don't. I mean, nowadays, I guess you kind of have to because of Corona. So I guess it's full circle, but
so
just a weird thing to say.
Antonio. Can we still be friends?
Well, yes, I think your number one is the strongest. Your argument for Dexter, I'm sorry, was just it made me really cringe. But then again, I had Bill Cosby on my list, so I guess it's
There you
evened
go.
out.
Yeah, one cringe for cringe.
There it is. And I hope that you enjoy your Christmas tree on Thanksgiving, even though it's not your favorite holiday. I still hope that you have a fantastic one and eat a mashed potato volcano.
I definitely will. And, to everyone out there listening, we hope you stay safe, take care, and tune in next time to see what lists we delve into.
Absolutely. And we are going to have a good one. So, folks, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Enlisted Podcast. My name is Antonio
My
Talamo.
name is Casey Coleman.
Peace.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Enlisted Podcast. Want more of these podcasts? Be sure to click the subscribe button and leave us a review with a suggestion of what you'd like for us to debate next. Until next time.